How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on NQ. I took a short. It was pretty quick and easy in the morning. Nice move down. I'll go into why I took that trade, as well as kind of what I was watching heading into the day, and then go over the trade itself, the risk, the reward, and yeah, we'll just recap it. It should be pretty quick, but let's dive into it. So first of all, coming into the day, I just looked at where NQ and ES were on the 15-minute chart. As you see here, NQ has, I believe these are all-time highs here. All-time highs here. And then yesterday we got a little bit of a dump. In the pre-market, we recovered some of that, but we weren't looking the strongest. In fact, we kind of had broken out of this little temporary uptrend and set a lower low here, and some higher lows here coming into the day in the pre-market. So not super great strength out of NQ. On the other side, we have ES, previous all-time highs here, which we broke in the pre-market, set new all-time highs in the pre-market, and we're still on that uptrend. Hadn't broken that uptrend. We're still setting higher highs, higher lows in this period, and we were above the previous day range. So NQ is within it, setting lower highs, lower lows. ES was above it, setting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs of all time. So ES was relatively stronger than NQ. Well, I didn't really want to trade ES at all-time highs unless it just gave me a real strong uptrend. So I was just patient at the beginning. And when the morning opened, we get a pretty good rejection on ES off that pre-market high, all-time high. We start to reject down, but what I noticed is NQ is relatively weaker. NQ is dropping really hard. In fact, it drops and closes below the pre-market range. So we have our pre-market low here, that's at the yellow level. We dropped and closed below it on the 5-minute. While ES hadn't even reached it yet. ES was still up here. So I saw that things were moving to the downside, and that between ES and NQ was the weaker of the two. It also had a setup that aligns with my strategy here, and what that is it broke out of that pre-market range. It broke and closed below it on the 5-minute. So we have relative weakness relative to ES. It's the weaker of the two. And then we have it breaking and closing outside of that pre-market range, which is, it kind of triggers my mind to look for an entry for some continuation in the way that it broke out. So it broke to the downside, closed below. At this point, I'm looking, all right, can I see some sort of confirmation that we're not going to reclaim that range, that we're going to reject off of that range and continue lower? So on the 2-minute, what I watch then is I'm watching us come up and approach this pre-market low. I wait for this candle to close because it was moving to the upside pretty aggressively, and I didn't want to just take it without any sort of confirmation. So we wait, we see it touch that pre-market low, we see it hit the EMA, we see it reject and close lower. Also, what I'm looking at is the volume is declining on this bounce. So we had good volume, which is to be expected off the opening candle, right? We had good volume that brought us all the way down here. The volume is dropping that's trying to recover. We reject off that pre-market low. We reject off that EMA. Okay. This next candle I entered short. I entered short pretty much right at the candle opens, so right around 225. My stop was at 244, so just under 20 points, and the reason being is that was just above this 48 EMA. I was going to put it just above this wick, but I wanted to give myself just a little bit more room. So my risk was about 19 points. My take profit was this first level here. I put it just above that first level, so about 202, 203, I believe. From there, my runner take profit was set at a break of low of day. So then we have our risk of about 20 points or a little less. Our reward of about 24 points or something. What was it? 23 points on our first trim. And then a move of about almost 45 points on our runner. And it worked out. It worked out really quick. We got a rejection. We dropped. We had another retest or two on that 2-minute before we moved down. We hit the take profit, and then we swept that low a day, setting new lows as well. So really clean on the 5-minute. On the 2-minute was just beautiful. And yeah, really it was just waiting for some sort of I don't want to call it like a trigger, but some sort of indication that we might have a trade set up, right? At the time, ES wasn't presenting me that. At the time, ES was still within the pre-market range. It was kind of holding off of this level. It wasn't setting higher highs, higher lows, or lower highs, lower lows. It was kind of stuck. Now you see that we we broke below pre-market low, we retested pre-market low, and then we made our way down to that next level, which is the previous day high, and it's starting to bounce and curl. So we might see the temporary relief bounce, maybe a full-blown recovery. We don't know. The point is, I analyzed the two. One was weaker than the other. Both were going down, but one was substantially weaker. It gave me a setup in terms of breaking out of a range and getting a retest before the other did. So it was relatively more weak, and it gave me a setup. The setup delivered a nice risk to reward. There's a little over a 1-to-1 on the first trim, about a 2-to-1 on the over a 2-to-1 on the second trim. Overall, looking at about probably a 1.5 to 1 risk to reward on that with the runner hitting. But yeah, it was according to my setup. I was patient. I waited for us to get the retest and the rejection on the 2-minute, then I entered. I could have waited for the 5-minute. I could have waited for this 5-minute to close and then entered on the retest on this candle, which, maybe that's something to pay attention to, but didn't feel like it was super necessary. We're still making lows, so you could say that, maybe I didn't hold long enough. Whatever. It was a nice move. We caught a piece of it. You're never going to catch the whole thing generally. With that being said, that's the only trade I took today. I'm done for the day. It's early. It's only 10:12. Market hasn't even been open for an hour. We're out of here. We got $311 on the day in terms of profit. That pushes our our lowest account to $360 in profit. The other two are at about $540, $542, and $542. Yeah, those are the exact same amount. That's actually impressive. Not even a single cent of slippage between these two. That's insane. But this one's lagging a little bit behind because I started with a small deficit on it. The trades are working, the levels are working, the system's working. I'm not going to lie, when I entered this trade, I felt a little nervous, and maybe that's because I didn't trade Monday. I was out yesterday, so I didn't trade yesterday. My first day back, actually taking a trade since last week, so I didn't adjust my strategy. I took the trade exactly how I should have, and it worked out perfect. But I will admit that I felt some sort of emotion while I was in it in terms of just not wanting to get stopped out. And I recognized it in the moment, and I recognized it and didn't change anything. Didn't move my stop loss to break even. Like for example, if I pull this up, yeah, we're already on it. So my take profit was just above this, about like 202. And let me switch back over to the chart that I actually traded here. It was just above it, about 202. And you can see we came down and we were just a few points off there. And then right here, we were just like 1 point off here. And then we started to push back up. And I had some feelings and maybe thoughts of, do I bring my stop loss to break even at this point in case it doesn't hit that level and it just bounces from here? But I didn't. It would have been fine had I did, because it didn't bounce up that much to where it would have stopped me out at break even before hitting the take profit. It never got up that far. But I just need to acknowledge that I was feeling those ways, and I addressed it by not doing anything, by sticking to my plan. I think that's the biggest thing, is just trusting your system and not sabotaging yourself. And it certainly was today. It wouldn't have mattered, no matter what I did. It would have played out the exact same today because price just moved nice for me and I got a good entry. But yeah, just wanted to bring that up. It was pretty much like a perfect trade, but I still felt that nervousness. And I don't know how much that goes away. But it's something that recognizing and managing and not acting upon it, probably one of the toughest parts of trading. And I think that's the real benefit that I've had implementing this system. And this system, I didn't make this up. It's a combination of somebody else's and a combination of what works for me. So it's kind of mixing what I was doing with this like EMA strategy that I got from a trader, Casey, not to take credit. But following this system helps take some of the emotion out of it because I know what I'm looking for. Once what I'm looking for happens, I took the trade, and you just accept the result. But obviously, I want the trades to work. We're on 3 PAs. If I can get payouts from these 3 PAs, not if, when I get payouts from these 3 PAs, it's going to kickstart really. I mean, if I can get the 2,000 cap payout from 3 accounts, if I can do that on a monthly basis semi-regularly, that's a pretty big increase to my income. So the patience and the confidence, the patience will pay off and the confidence will be built once I get that first payout. Once I see money coming in, once I stay disciplined and patient and prove to myself that I can do it. Like a day like today, man, these accounts have just been, it's not the fastest thing ever. You know, I'm not making shit tons of money every day, but 200, 300, 250, 320 here and there, you know, if I'm consistent, those add up fast. To make that $2,000 a month per account, I only need to average 500 a week, you know, and we just made over 300 in a single day. So more than halfway there in one trade. And that's just something I need to keep my mind on, is that I don't need to hit massive home runs. If I can just stack these wins, just be patient, avoid stupid losses. I don't know, I'm just rambling, sorry. We already covered the trade. There's nothing more to talk about, really. Just talking to myself. But wanted to say that even though my trades are working, I still get nervous. And I just try not to let it affect me and how I trade, and just follow my rules anyways. Peace out. Thank you for watching. I'll be here the rest of the week streaming and making recaps. Let's close it out strong. We're in the second half of the week now, right at the midpoint, I guess, today. But heading in the second half. Hope y'all have a great day. Thanks for watching. Peace out.